My brother and I used to really enjoy working in the kitchen together, especially preparing holiday meals for our big family. We had a great kitchen partnership. He'd start by doing all the planning for the menu. Then I would buy the ingredients, wash the produce, measure the ingredients, and put them in nice bowls in the order that they'd be used. Then I'd line up all the equipment that he would need. Pans on the stove, food processor ready to go, spatula, check, 2 whisks, check, oven rack set in the right place, check. And this is why we made a great kitchen team. When it was time for him to make the dinner, everything was ready to go, and he could focus on his goal of creating a delicious and beautifully presented meal. Working like this made preparing a big dinner for 30 people an absolute pleasure and not a chore. It wasn't more work to be organized and prepared. It was less work, and it was better work. It's a pretty good metaphor for an RIE. The preparation phase is like what I used to do for my brother. Get everything ready so that he can do his best possible work. If we did a good job selecting a project for an RIE, it means that we have a project with a known root cause, but with an undetermined solution. This means that when we get to the actual event, the 2 to 5 day workshop, the team will have all the right information and tools necessary to develop a great solution.
Well said, Claire.
Thank you, Ron.
So the RIE cycle started with identifying opportunities at least 8 weeks prior to the scheduled event. It sounds like a lot of time, but it goes quick, believe me. The team was selected and the project was formally kicked off at least 6 weeks prior. Now is the preparation phase. We should allow at least 4 weeks for the prep. Of course, depending upon the complexity and scope of the problem that we are solving. In this module, we will take you through the RIE preparation phase.
The preparation phase is very straightforward in that it must include these items. It can be a bit of a scavenger hunt to get all of this in order, but that doesn't mean we can skip any of these items. It's all critical in that we have completed these steps before we ask people to show up for a multi-day event. We don't want to consume precious resources if we're underprepared, or it will surely result in waste.
This list is in a logical order, so it's best to complete these items as they are listed. The RIE lead is responsible for ensuring that this prep is completed. However, it doesn't mean that they have to do all the work themselves. They can enlist support from team members or subject matter experts to complete the required tasks. The more organized, accurate, and thorough the prep, the more smooth and productive the event will be. Let's go through these items one at a time.
The first step is to provide evidence of the root cause. We will not be discovering or analyzing the root cause during the event. Rather, we'll start the event by aligning the team's understanding of the known root cause. That's a big difference. We do this by providing evidence which may come from the process or from data. When we refer to the process to provide evidence of the root cause, some common methods are to use videos, photos, or process maps.
The intention of any of these methods, whether a video, photo, or process map, is to provide a thorough and clear understanding of the root cause. It's important to stay focused on this root cause, so we do not need to illustrate the entire process. Rather, we are using these methods to pinpoint the root cause. This is what the team will be expected to change for the better. So the clearer their understanding of the cause, the more quickly and effectively they can get to the solution.
Another very valuable method of gathering process information is the Gemba Walk, which is a module in Greenbelt training. Process observation, or Gemba Walk, when done well, can provide great insight and understanding of how the process actually works. The Gemba Walk is a great option to validate and see the root cause or causes of the problem in action.
Evidence comes in the form of data that is displayed on a chart. For example, if our problem is that the engine overheats, we might use a Pareto chart to illustrate the reasons why, or the causes of the overheating. We might use a run chart to illustrate how a specific event or change in a period of time impacted the results. Any information that we can provide the team to support the known root cause will give them a greater opportunity to really solve the issue.
In order to track and organize the evidence of root causes for your RIE, we have created a template. This template is a simple form that tracks the different types of evidence that you might have. The first category is process maps. In this section, we capture the beginning and ending steps of the process map. Remember, we don't need the whole thing. And we identify the type of process map. There's a space to capture the file name. This is used if the map is in an electronic format. And if there's no process map yet, but we intend on creating one before the event, there's a space to capture the due date and who is responsible for creating the map.
The next section is a place to capture any photos or videos of the root cause in action. And lastly, the facts and data section captures significant root cause data. In this section, we track the metric, the purpose of the data. For example, is this baseline problem data or root cause data? And the ever important operational definition. The next column identifies the data display method or the type of chart that the data will be displayed on. And if it's not created yet, there's a place to identify the task owner and the due date.
So the purpose of this log is to give you a place to organize your root cause evidence. In some cases, it's all created already, and you just have to gather it. Other times, you'll have to create the evidence. If you get to this point and realize that there is no evidence of root cause, it's time to have a chat with the sponsor and reevaluate the RIE approach for this problem. If you've gathered the necessary root cause evidence, you're ready to move on to the next step.
So with an RIE, by the time you get here into the prep phase, you have a clarity on which process you are focused on. You understand the problem and you have gathered evidence of the root cause. Now it's time for you to consider two things. Who are the participants? And what methods or tools will they likely need to apply during this event?
So this is really important because during the event, the RIE team will be responsible for creating a new way of working. And as the RIE lead, it's your job to consider what improvement methods they may need access to. While the RIE participants are subject matter experts, in other words, they're technically skilled in the process, it's likely that they may not be trained in continuous improvement methods and tools.
Now we don't know exactly what solutions they may come up with, but we will have some idea. For example, if the problem is that we have unbalanced workload coming through the production cycle, we may want the team to consider load leveling or hejunka. If we have a consistent problem with near misses on the shop floor, we might want to consider visual management, or we might expect that the focus will be work cell design, which we have modules for in our training material.
As the facilitator, you don't want to get to the event and surprise! Suddenly
what are we doing today, Rian?
I don't know, I thought they knew how to do this.
I got a call yesterday saying I need to be in a meeting. What are we doing?
Now I got to teach hejunka. Do you have anything on hejunka?
What's hejunka? Suddenly you have to go into instructor mode and teach the class about how to brainstorm, or what is 5S.
And the session derails. During the preparation phase, it's a time for you to reflect on the specific problem and goal and assess which topics would be beneficial for the participants to understand.
That's the purpose of this participant training plan template. This template lists in order the bite-sized topics that may be relevant for your team. The questions are, is this topic relevant to your RIE? And is training needed? If training is needed, then you have two more columns. What is the training source? And will training take place before or during the RIE?
The RIE team will likely not be experts in continuous improvement, but they will be much more effective and efficient at designing and implementing a solution if they're armed with information before the session. For example, if you, along with the sponsor and process owner, have agreed that implementing 5S is a solution to your specific problem, it would make sense for the team to be trained in 5S prior to the event. You may or may not have a proven solution in mind. You may be relying on the team brainstorming a new way of working, a new process, or new roles. In any event, there's likely some training that can and should be done ahead of time.
For the training source, there are 5 options listed in a drop-down. The first is CANSOLT's own e-learning module. Each of these topics are available as online modules on our website. Next is Coaching with CANSOLT. If e-learning is not the right choice for your team, our consultants are available for remote coaching to individuals or groups.
The third option is for you to arrange a facilitator-led classroom training at your site, or facilitator-led virtual training. The last option is Other, just to give you more flexibility. The last column indicates for those items that require training, whether the training will be done before or during the event, which is an important distinction when planning for the remainder of the preparation phase and for the event itself.
So we've gathered evidence of the root cause and we've planned for any participant training for the event. The next step is to plan the agenda. Whether the RIE will be held with the entire team together physically, virtually, or some combination thereof, the event will run a logical course of milestones that will need to be accomplished in a certain amount of time. And creating an agenda is the tool that we use to keep the team on track and progressing successfully to the end goal.
This agenda has been prepared for you with the major blocks of the event outlined. This is a great time to really think about your specific scenario and reassess the number of days allotted for the event. In the early phases, initial estimations might be overly ambitious in assuming that a solution can be developed and implemented in, say, 3 days.
Once you've considered the event at the detailed level, making sure to include any topical training that might be needed, accounting for all the tasks that need to be accomplished, you may realize that you need more time, or maybe that you believe that you can achieve the goal in less time. Either way, this is a great time to assess the timing carefully and align with the sponsor so that appropriate planning can continue.
At this point in the prep phase, your job as the RAE lead is to block out the time for each of these tasks that must occur. As always with an agenda, we use the structure to keep us on track, but we must be flexible and ready to modify our methods or approach within this structure.
We start with the opening, then the alignment of the team, which includes sharing the baseline measures and root cause evidence. With the foundation in place, the team moves into developing solutions, and then piloting and implementing the new way of working.
After implementation is completed, the team will collaborate to develop a follow-up plan. The follow-up plan will include actions, who is responsible, and a timeline for all the tasks that need to be done to ensure that the successful results are sustained.
The RIE ends with a team presentation or summary of the RIE to leaders and key stakeholders. For any sections of the agenda that include additional participants, such as the interim briefings or final team presentations, you will need to schedule time and invite participants ahead of time.
As a facilitator, it's always important to identify your method or tool for each topic on your agenda. This means that you take the time to specify, for example, that the method and tool for alignment of root cause evidence will be a PowerPoint presentation with handout of the data, or that the developing of the solution will be done by creating a detailed swim lane process map on brown paper with stickies, or using a mapping app like Visio in a virtual meeting. Every item on the agenda will have a plan for at least one method or tool to achieve the milestone. And as experienced facilitators know, you'll be smart to have a backup plan as well.
With the agenda completed, it's time to think logistics, space, tools, and supplies. There are multiple considerations here. If the team is physically meeting, what are the space needs? What office supplies and technical supplies will be needed? To develop a solution, what tools will the team need to be most efficiently creative and innovative? Think about how many meetings you've been to where the meeting has stalled. Everyone's sitting around waiting for someone to go get chairs or find the right cable or go call someone to deliver a flip chart stand. How many dried markers do we go through before we realize that we have no good markers? Anyway, that's what this piece is about. Let's think through everything that we'll need so that we don't waste any time during this event.
Your next template will make this task nice and easy. First, think through the location itself. You may have multiple options. For example, option 1 might be a virtual meeting. Option 2 is the boardroom. And option 3 is the cafeteria. The top half of this template is set up so that you can compare the merits of each option and then make a selection. The descriptions or location features are suggestions. You can change these if you have different requirements, but these are pretty standard.
The next section is about the supplies and equipment, and the intention is to make sure that you are well prepared and do not waste any time during this event. Think of the RIE participants as your honored guests. You are responsible for ensuring that their time is well spent. If you'll be meeting physically, choosing an event layout can be challenging because it's such a key part of ensuring your event achieves its objectives. The good news is we've narrowed down some of the best and most popular meeting room layouts to help you get started.
The right layout will set the mood and keep things organized. In your workbooks, you'll see multiple options for room layout with the benefits of each. Keep in mind, you may want to change the layout depending on the specific actions taking place throughout the event.
With the event details planned, it's time to prepare our communication to our stakeholders. When we are preparing to change a process, not everyone will be involved in the event, but many people will be aware of or impacted by the RIE in some way. It's our responsibility to provide the right information to our stakeholders in the right way and at the right time.
Our stakeholder communication will set the stage so the team can start quickly and then maintain momentum throughout the event with no delays. A good, strong communication will also help to minimize assumptions and reduce any anxiety that stakeholders may have about upcoming changes to the process.
This template is a guide for this communication. One template is used for each different stakeholder or stakeholder group. The template gathers the basics info on the top, which is about who is doing the communication and who it is being communicated to. It also identifies how the message will be delivered. In other words, will this be a meeting, an email? We'll be taking the stakeholder to lunch, etc. And then our dates. The remainder of the template includes the questions or prompts for you to build a message for the stakeholder. This template is a thought starter that is used to create your clear and meaningful message about the RIE. It is not intended to be emailed or sent as an attachment. This is an internal tool that you use to build the message, and then you have to decide how to best deliver that message. Pretty easy, hey?
The first action in our RE agenda is the leadership welcome. It's not unusual for an unprepared RE facilitator to wait until the first morning of the event to think about the opening. Who's going to open it? Who's around? What should I say? Let's not do that. Think ahead about a relevant leader to take the first 10 minutes of your RIE to kick it off properly. This guide is there for you to plan this right. It simply asks you to identify who will give the opening welcome and to make sure that this leader is given a guide for their welcome.
While this is not a script, it is a good guide. It provides the leader with the main topics and messages that they can convey in their own way and in their own words. The main topics are the compelling need for change, the specific problem or current state. It clarifies leadership expectations and, very importantly, the leader clarifies the level of authority of the RIE team. The leader wraps up the welcome with a transition to the facilitator, and that, my friends, is how you open an RIE.
Yeah, it is. And we're at our last step of the prep phase. During the event, you and the team will set aside time each day, whether midday or at the end of the day, to provide an update to leadership. This is a brief update and exchange of information to ensure that the team is on track and to allow the leaders to address any roadblocks or issues. Before the event, you'll need to invite any leaders who are stakeholders to join the daily interim briefing. And it's important that they know what to expect and what is expected of them. This is the purpose of this handout. You will have to decide who should attend your interim briefings and how to share this guide. But having this handout ready will make this last task an easy one.
And there you have it. We've covered all of the steps required for a thorough RIE preparation, and we are now ready for the actual event. Let's continue to see how the event unfolds.